Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome JEXIT Ambassador Daniella Bloom.
I want everyone to give yourselves a hand that you have not moved to Texas and Florida and Arizona, and that you're still in California fighting the front lines of tyranny. Give yourselves a hand. This is not for the faint of heart. So I am the National Ambassador of JEXIT, Jews who are exiting the Democrat Party. I am a true JEXITer. I didn't just vote for Obama once. I voted for Obama twice. But I am making my repentance and my atonement now. So we all have our journeys. So I'm going to tell you a little bit, because everyone asks me, what was the crossover? What were the moments that made you awake? Because I really, truly feel there are two parties today, the awake and the woke. And who are we? That's right. So the other thing I do too, I'm a psychotherapist, so I truly believe that what is happening in our personal relationships and the struggles are paralleling what's happening in our nation as a whole. Does this sound familiar? It's all your fault. If only you would change. You're toxic, so I'm going to cancel you. We are seeing this in our own relationships. People are not getting married today like they used to. They're estranged from parents, from siblings. It's all connected. So let me take you back, though, while I was still a liberal and what really woke me up. Believe it or not, I was going through my own divorce, and I had to face the family court system. And I truly thought that family court was about the best interests of the children. And once the judge knew where my heart was and how I could see the full picture, he would get it and grant a fair divorce, and we'd be on our way. What I learned when you deal with someone high conflict and they come from an empowered victim mentality, it doesn't matter what you're offering them. It doesn't matter how fair you're being, how much you want to compromise. When they come from a place of anger and entitlement and victimhood, no amount of compromise will satisfy them. So let me ask you guys a question. Does Land for Peace work in Israel? No. Do you think reparations for BLM will work here? No. It is not going to change the inner mentality of the choice to remain entitled to your anger. So that was number one. Number two, I was always a pro-Israel advocate. I went to UC Santa Barbara. Any gauchos here? No? Nobody went to UCSB? It's fantastic. It's right on the beach. Back in my day, though, you could be a proud Zionist. I remember biking to school with my big Shalom Chaver bumper sticker for our wonderful Prime Minister Yitzhak Rabin, who was assassinated. I had a Tzahal backpack. I was in AIPAC. There was Israeli flags on Israeli Independence Day. It's a very, very far cry with what we're dealing with now on campus. And I just remember what Bollywood was doing with manipulating the narrative and making Israel a villain and the Palestinians were the oppressed. They were doing it in American soil. They were misquoting Trump. They were amplifying the story of BLM without the right context. And I started to say, why aren't they showing the whole picture? That was number two. I was very familiar with the narrative being so imbalanced consistently, especially how they were trying to frame Trump. Number three, did anybody go to the Beverly Hills rallies? Were they not fabulous? Amazing, historic. No media coverage. Why? Because at the Beverly Hills rallies, you did see diversity and inclusion. You saw black people for Trump, Asians for Trump, LGBT for Trump, Jews, Arabs, galore for Trump. And it did not fit the narrative of white supremacy. And being at those rallies, you were so inspired because the people there, why were they there? Because they were there for what we stood for what we love. We love our president, we love our country, we back the blue. We look at America as a land of opportunity because so many of our parents have come from communist countries who truly value what freedom means today. We were not the party of hate. We weren't against institutions, we weren't against systems, we weren't against other groups. We were standing where the light shines. We are the silent majority, and we are still the majority. Case in point, Sound of Freedom is breaking 150 million. Has everyone seen it? Right? Doesn't that make you feel amazing? In the meantime, Hollywood shut down. Let them stay shut down for all I care. So those things together. Also, I was headed towards Hollywood. I became LA's premier divorcee, success coach, and dating expert, and I had these really fun, unscripted shows in the works, but they said to me, we'll move you forward, but just keep it on the down low that you voted for Trump. Don't let them know. And that did not sit well with me. I'm a proud Jewish American. I'm a proud free thinker, and I will never compromise my values for any opportunity. So after that, I became a free thinker, and I have never looked back. And I can tell you, though, I'm sure you guys can relate to this, the day you came out as a conservative is a day I'll never forget. Who here has been dumped by a liberal? Yeah. Who hasn't been dumped by some sort of liberal? So I remember the vitriol and hate I got once I bravely put on Facebook that I was for MAGA, mostly by my fellow Jews calling me a Nazi, which was very confusing. But I have to tell you, some of my closest friends today are Black conservatives, Latino conservatives, LGBT conservatives, and the wrath that they endure from their own communities is like no other. And we are the brave. Now, it's always been in our history that the people who stand where the light shines are typically the minority. It's always been that way when we left Egypt, the story of Hanukkah. There's always the minority who will not comply, who will not conform, who will stay awake. Now, living in LA as a mom, I think mothers and fathers feel it the most today because many of us did not plan on being freedom advocates, spending hours and hours of our days rallying our communities to call against these assembly bills, to go to the school board meetings, to be labeled domestic terrorists. We didn't think this was going to be in our agenda. But living in California with what Chaya was saying, what we're enduring in schools, every day it feels like a tsunami upon tsunami with no end in sight. But I will share with you, we had some successes. For instance, Nicole Pearson and Perk, who I work closely with, were able to stave off the vaccine mandates for 5 and up throughout all of LAUSD. They were not going to allow our children, even though we were taxpayers, unless they were triple vaccinated before school started. We were able to push it from September to December, and then from December on. Why? Because by the time it came up for court again, everyone who was triple vaccinated got Omicron twice. So they had no legs to stand on anymore. So the power of the people is still very much alive. I'm not going to say it's easy. Today we're fighting Bill AB 665, which allows a 12-year-old to be legally emancipated from their parents should they tell a mental health care provider they don't feel safe at home, they want to transition, they're questioning, and their parents refuse their gender-affirming identity. It takes nothing today in California to separate parents from children. This is scary, and California can be the domino effect for the rest of the country. So everyone who stays here does not have the luxury to be uncomfortable. We are the frontliners. We are the warriors. Everyone says, why are you still here? Why are you here? Just move. Someone has to be here. We cannot all take our kids out of public school because the indoctrination will be even stronger. There will be no checks and balances. Case in point, I don't know if anyone saw my latest TikTok. I pulled out the 3 books that were sent to me. I did not request them. These were 3 books sent to me from my daughter starting 9th grade, starting LAUSD. The first book was called Ketanji Brown Jackson, First Black Female on the Supreme Court, right? Never mind about Judge Janice Brown in 2003 that Biden himself denied because she was a conservative. That was the first book. The second book, they just put it front and center. It just titled Vaccines. Just vaccines. Nothing about health or immunity or how to boost your own immunities. Just vaccines, folks, because nothing says more like supporting Big Pharma than that. And then the third one was Green Girls. So you have 4 cute girls in their backpacks combating climate change, right? So it's just craziness. They're not trying to hide it anymore. It's really tough to be a parent today, and you guys are going to be parents soon. And the best thing, and some of you are parents, so you know what I'm saying. All you can do, because I'm a parent of 3 and all my children are so different from each other. My middle daughter's the patriot Zionist who comes to all the rallies with me. My eldest daughter is more of an introvert. She doesn't want to draw attention to herself. You know, you have to teach a child in the way that they should learn, and when they're older, they will not depart from it. This is from our Torah. And the most important thing you can do, especially if you have a defiant child or a child who just, you know, it's very difficult today as parents, I'm sure you can relate, continue to encourage their critical thinking. Make sure they are not driven just by emotion, which is very easy today. If someone's passionate and screaming and adamant and offended, they must be right. Not the case. So with my own children, I ask about, well, what do you think the other perspective would be? Or could you pull back the lens and see the full picture? Because at the end of the day, when people have tantrums, they're operating out of some sort of fear. And if you can get to that fear and you can like poke critical thinking at it and you can dispel it a little bit, maybe you have a chance. Maybe you have a chance to help them become more awake, because that is what true freedom is. In terms of JEXIT, now, what's so important about JEXIT? Because Jews are just 2% of the population in America. So even if every Jew came out and voted, it's not going to necessarily move the dial. What moves the dial are our amazing non-Jewish allies who stand for Israel with us, who stand for our Judeo-Christian values, who stand for our inherent God-given freedoms that the Constitution did not give us. The Constitution is there to make sure nothing is infringed upon them. So we must call on our mainly Christian allies today to stand up unapologetically about Israel, unapologetically about the Judeo-Christian values that this country was founded on, because this is not the time to stay silent. But we do it by standing where the light shines. We do not need to add more hate and vitriol into this world. We need to be the example, and that is what will see us through. So thank you guys so much. Does anyone have any questions? Hi. I'm a teacher. Yes. Yes.
What do you as a parent need from teachers? What can I do, and what can other conservative teachers do?
First of all, thank you for introducing yourself. That's very helpful. It's very hard to be a conservative teacher in LAUSD, so I commend you and thank you. And I didn't know if it was your choice or not to be vaccinated. I hope it was your choice, because that's also a very hard thing today. Let us know about you, because it's so much more powerful when we have a tribe. I'm connected to several parenting groups who do go to the boards, we had a meeting recently with the superintendent, several school board members to combat anti-Semitism. Now, Jews are not usually, we don't need a lot of hoopla. We don't need, a Jewish history, month of parades. But because anti-Semitism is on the rise, and it is coming from mostly the left today in our schools, it does need to be taken just as seriously as any other hate crime. So please come up to me later so I can include you in our group, because the more teachers and parents that know each other, the stronger we are, and the stronger we can do action steps to make sure that Jewish and Israeli students feel just as safe and comfortable on campus as any other American. Yes. Is that it? Yes. Hi, David.
I'm a friend of yours. Hi, my name's David. I'm a friend. So many questions, but how about this one? I had a conversation with a gentleman yesterday at a sushi bar I just met, and we were talking about hate. And what is your definition of anti-Semitism, right? Because it's so easy for people to go right to, oh, that's racist, or that's this, or that's that. And Dennis, I've heard him for many years, he said words are very powerful.
Yeah.
So how would you yourself define anti-Semitism versus just, angry narcissistic behavior? You know what I'm saying?
For
where's
sure,
the line?
and I do agree. There was a speaker who said it earlier. If we water down the definitions of racism and anti-Semitism, it's like the boy who cried wolf. And we do have to look at people's intentions, and people are allowed to make mistakes. People are allowed to say something without any sort of racist or anti-Semitic intention, without being beaten over the head with it. And I think sometimes we jump to anti-Semitism too quickly without giving it a learning opportunity for people who can open their platforms and educate. And so I don't think it should be overused. On the other hand, when there are true hate crimes, when there are swastikas, when there are, children being harassed by being yelled at Free Palestine, they can't even have lunch in a cafeteria, that needs to be taken seriously too. So I think we can't just make general statements. We have to look at it case by case. Yes. Is that it? Okay, thank you guys.